Welcome to Internal Affairs of the Mind, where we don't chase trends, but we chase the truth, where reflection is weaponized and reality's got no place to hide. Some people preach, some people pretend. Me, I investigate. I'm Greg Thompson, a retired cop with over 2 decades experience, but a lifelong investigator. And now, a full-time interrogator of the human condition. This isn't therapy. It's not philosophy class. It's an investigation into everything they told you not to question and everything you told yourself you didn't have time to. Let's crack today's case. Let's chop it up. So I want to start with a question. Let me ask you this. If you knew someone was going to break into your house tonight, how would you prepare? Would you lock the doors? Would you arm yourself and stay vigilant, waiting for the arrival? Perhaps you call them boys in blue? But most probably what you would definitely do is protect your family and your property at all costs. So let's flip that script. What if somebody was breaking into your mind, affecting your focus, your confidence, your peace, dictating your self-worth? How many of us leave that door wide open for regular intrusion? I'd venture to say that most people guard their home with much more intentionality than their own mindset. We protect our cars, our homes, hell, even our cell phones. But when it comes to our thoughts, our beliefs, free access, wide open. And this is what I want to dive into today. I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to play counselor or Mr. Know-it-all. I'm just coming to you as a man who's walked through the fire, fallen hard, learned to intentionally take back my mind and who and what has access to it. Because I'm not smarter than you, but from my experiences, both lived and witnessed, this is definitely a conversation we should have to begin to try and understand and possibly identify our unique why or the missing pieces of the puzzle. Because what I have learned is that successful people prepare while unsuccessful people compare. So what did I do? I just stopped giving the noise more power than my own voice. Let me give you some backstory. My noise, or my story in its brevity for now, started in a galaxy far away, long time ago, because I'm an OG. I was born and raised to very humble beginnings, living in government projects and fully experiencing and understanding from an early age what financial and life struggle looked like from the front lines. But I was also raised in a family that I know would never let me settle, and they loved me unconditionally. We didn't say it a lot back then, if at all, but I knew. I knew this because I witnessed their struggle, and their struggle never stopped. It didn't stop them from pushing and striving to provide and handle their business. That was their love language. Now, added to that, I'm a biracial kid. Although the majority of my known family was black due to the racial tension of my mother marrying my pops. But I was raised during a time where I was presented at many crossroads with outside noise that, if I chose to follow, could possibly have limited my desire and my ability to want more or to chase success. Now, when I say noise, I'm specifically referring to the people around me. Now, that's not always going to be your family or your friends, but at times, understand, they could definitely be noise too. Noise, the notion or the paths presented to me that I was led to believe were available to me or not, or perhaps the options for me because of where I was from or who I was. Noise was trying to write my story before I even lived it. I was frequently presented with the idea that I was limited in what I could or could not pursue. Hell, even my parents in certain ways placed limitations on what they possibly believed I could or should try to accomplish, including where they believed I could try to go to college or not. Was it because of my socioeconomic status? and no one from places like this can X, Y, or Z? Was it because those doors were not open to someone like me? Or was it simply we couldn't afford it? Quite frankly, on some level, it was probably all of that. Or at least that was the noise being presented that began to create my narrative for my struggle and was even granted access to empower me to prefer avoidance over even trying. Now, that noise wasn't always overt or direct, many times quite the contrary. Very hidden context or in the subtleties of how people dealt with me or spoke to me about opportunities. Hell, it was even in the pictures, in the books, the movies, TV, and the so called quote unquote success stories I was exposed to as examples. For instance, I can count how many times a white person found out that I was black because they met my pops, and treatment noticeably changed. Sometimes that change was even full on termination of the relationship. When those things happened, I temporarily chose to believe and allowed myself to be misled into some acceptance that I am different in a negative way or a way that restricts my journey. I must admit, I also became very angry and jaded towards people. Now, I don't tell you this to dive into discussion about race or elicit some sympathy. We can digest the race subject perhaps on a later episode. Because let me be abundantly clear, I am very proud of who I am and thankful for all that I experienced because that struggle built me. My brothers and I were fed well and lived very decent lives that I would never change or complain about for anything. It built me for this real and very difficult world that we live in. And it definitely prepared me for the career I didn't even know I would be a part of for so long. But most importantly, it prepared and built me to be willing to struggle for whatever I wanted because this was not a new condition. It allowed me to change the channel from my regularly scheduled programming. What's that song? We started at the bottom, now we're here. So, regularly scheduled programming. What do I mean? So, what did I learn from all of this? The break in doesn't start outside you, or it can't be controlled from outside of you. It starts from inside, and it starts early. Before you knew who you were, the world was already trying to tell you that you couldn't be X. It was giving you the regularly scheduled programming, the status quo. Maybe they told you you weren't smart enough. You're not the right kind of kid. You from the wrong family. We were being taught, intentionally or unintentionally, what box we belonged in by the noise. And if you didn't fit in, or you believed you didn't fit in, some of us chose to shrink rather than to grow, to conform. That was our programming. It doesn't happen in one big moment. It's built brick by brick. Every time someone told you no, you were overlooked or underestimated. Every time someone laughed at your vision as merely a dream. And eventually, you started internalizing that noise, made them facts. The voice in your head now saying, I'm not good enough. I'll fail anyway. What's the point? They're not going to let me. That voice no longer belonged to you. It was taken during the break in. The new programming was being downloaded, and you were now connected to the matrix. Then you made their voice yours. Here's a good place to propose the first field assignment. Write down or think about one belief you hold that's not really yours. It's inherited. Something you may have been accepting that may have actually never been true. Now write down the actual truth. That's where you start reclaiming your voice. The noise. Let's talk about that. So today we got a plethora of information that's available for us to make decisions, whether it be the internet, books, or overexposure to too many experiences that aren't even our own experiences. But we're inundated with noise that is used to build our foundation. We have way more information access than I was ever privy to at pivotal points in my life, but that kind of information still comes with some of the same challenges I talked about that I had. Challenges of hearing information specifically designed to help me decide what to feel or what I can possibly achieve. challenges of judging myself against the so called success of others or allowing others to pass their judgment. While, quite frankly, the biggest challenge of them all, being able to catalog the abundance of information and apply it as beneficial or burdensome to my specific grind. Because let's be real, there exists information for you and I to damn near accomplish anything, but we're going to need a plan. Because nothing starts without a plan. And for some reason, we love to avoid planning. We need a plan to block out the constant static that tells us who to be or not to be, who's winning, who's richer, who's more disciplined, who's happier on their social media posts, and how do I get to that kind of happy? We are stuck in a perpetual state of comparing our unedited footage to everybody's intentionally displayed highlight reels. It's no wonder we conform or wish that we have what others have. Here's the truth: most of that noise and static, it ain't real. It's scripted. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. When you remove the filters, the flexing, the I'm doing better than you, the look at me energy, it's all a mask covering our individual flaws and broken parts to reflect what we want others to believe. A form of mind control through false truths and creating group safety. Every second you spend tuned into that, you're tuned out of your own programming. The more we tune into others' reality TV, the longer we ignore our intended story. The longer we empower these so called influencers and the so called news channels telling their versions, the longer we delay our actual reality. There is a surplus of wannabe influencers with a surplus of opinions and false facts. Plus, the only actual fact is we have limited bandwidth and we can't possibly give all of our energy to these distractions and limitations and still expect our goals to grow. Let me say that again. You can't feed your distractions and expect your vision to get stronger. We can't keep accepting the programming that's intended to define what is safe because it makes us sheep. It's safe to be sheep. You heard me. That's what I called you. Sheep that allow the forced community programming to take hold. This isn't even the entirety of the problem. The greater problem actually lies in misidentifying or allowing that noise to dictate what does safe actually mean in the appropriate context. Here's what I mean. You don't go counting money, 3 o'clock in the morning, cash in hand, intoxicated, walking through an unlit parking lot or the alley. Simple enough, right? That shit ain't safe. If you disagree, then you're the reason I stayed employed for as long as I did. Don't take that as an insult. My family and I thank you for the job security. But seriously, it's easy to characterize what is physical safety. But shouldn't we be just as intentional in understanding what affects and controls our mental safety? If you say yes, then why do we habitually misidentify fear of new, fear of different, fear of change, or fear of something outside our comfort zone as not being safe to engage? Especially since, quite frankly, it isn't necessarily that it's unsafe. It's just new or different. Why? Because we are also fearful sheep. If we continue to choose to live in a perpetual, permanent state of fear, worried about the unknown, the shit you can't control, the shit that goes bump in the night, or worse, we fear what the noise says about our decision. Ultimately, the fears we don't face unconsciously become our limitations. So let's talk about fear, because that's what this all boils down to: fear of failure, fear of judgment or not being enough, fear of whatever. Fear becomes our disguise. Procrastination, not because you're necessarily lazy, just fearful. Convincing yourself you can't do something, not necessarily lacking skill or ability, you're just scared. Limiting yourself in any way is just fear. And you know what fear's kryptonite is? Faith. I'm not talking just spiritual faith. That's not today's conversation. This is faith in yourself. Faith that you are worthy, that you can survive the fall, and that the struggle will never last forever. Faith that the struggle is actually molding and educating you, not destroying you. Clay is soft until it goes through the kiln. So when we are driven by faith, we will ride or die through that faith no matter what. Can't nobody change us, influence us, or sway us from our faith, especially not just with their words. Faith is grounded in our experiences, not someone else's, and we choose to believe positively and at times unequivocally in something we can't touch, feel, or even completely understand. Fear is grounded when we are choosing to believe negatively in something we can't touch, feel, or even understand completely. Same shit, different lens. The biggest difference? Fear affects our mind in a way that impedes forward progress if you can't overcome it. A fearful mind, shit, that'll put you to work. You hear me? The fearful mind will make you think of stuff that doesn't even exist. You just creating business. There'll be all kinds of nonsense running through your head, especially when you're scared. We actually start imagining and making up reality that hasn't even happened or may not even happen. Truth be told, our greatest weapon is our mind. So you got to find a way to train and protect it to recognize opportunities instead of impediments. You want a fair fight against fear? Start believing in your own damn voice more than you believe in the noise around you and correct your mind's vision. You're not broke or incapable. You're building and growing. That's the bar right there. Faith in what you might be capable of, because we can't possibly know until we strive to go get it. And when you do, don't be fearful of judgment. Be faithful in success. Don't be fearful of embarrassment. Be faithful in your potential accomplishment. Hell, let's keep it real. Don't be fearful of shit. Be faithful in yourself and your potential. Faith in yourself is the antidote to fear, even if, and especially when, you fail. I once read, and I love this quote: "We were never created to live defeated, guilty, condemned, ashamed, or unworthy. We were created to be victorious every single day of our waking moments." So choose your chances to fail over choosing your chances to not even try. So let's keep it a buck. Failure, guaranteed, I just told you. But the important part is it doesn't have to be terminal. And you shouldn't allow fear of more failure to dissuade you. It's just a detour. It's still on the map if you plan for it. You will fail. You will fall. And each time you will create doubt in everything that you've done. I say, so, because every failure creates lessons. The eventual win is going to be built on those lessons because the revised plans can now be made with newfound wisdom. The problem typically, we treat failure like it's negative and it becomes our stop sign. You failed? Excellent. Script flipped. At least you tried. You know what's worse than failing? Not trying. You absolutely can recover from failure. Now, the recovery may not look like the initial vision's win, but you can still recover. But you often cannot recover from regret. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for perfect moments or perfect people's opinions. Perfect is a mask. It's a lie. Often think of the 6 P's I learned during my career in law enforcement. Proper planning prevents piss poor performance. And proper planning must include an expectation to fail. Expect failure. Don't accept failure. One more time for those in the back. Expect failure. Don't accept failure. This has to be your truth. It was Maya Angelou who said, "Every storm runs out of rain." So here's another field assignment for you. Can you write down or think about one failure you've been running from? What did you learn from it? And what did it or what can it teach you? Now stop concealing it and use it to fuel overcoming that failure. Because this is your fight. And I'm going to say it straight. No one's coming to save you. Ain't no superheroes. Ain't no backup coming. Ain't no red or blue pill you can be prescribed to help you disconnect from the matrix. And there is definitely not going to be a perfect timing scenario. If you're waiting for permission to change your path, It's within you, and you are simply waiting on yourself. You've got to be your own 911, your own hype man, and you got to be your own damn backup. I'm not suggesting you don't need or you can't learn from people. That's not what this is. But I'm definitely saying you got to stop waiting on them to start or for them to provide you the plans. Your plan, your journey, thus your decision. I'm done being here. I'm done blaming. I'm done making excuses and waiting. Because the fact is, every day you choose the regularly scheduled programming, you stay in that loop because you're choosing to. No one's force feeding you. You just keep subscribing to the same damn channels. Own and write your story, even the parts that hurt. Actually, especially the parts that hurt. Because when it's yours, you control what happens and how. Stop making it someone else's fault when in actuality, the fault is yours. Since we constantly, consistently give the power of our own responsibility over our plans and journey to other people, to the noisemakers. The noise will ever be present, but kill that noise. Control the fear. You've got the tools, so let's start building. The tools and the recipe. Let me give you something practical and very useful that helped me fight this war, and I believe are the tools and the recipe to follow. Simplest recipe you'll ever have. A friend of mine I met in college, very motivational and accomplished today. I suspect because of his mindset and the following that I learned directly from him. The toolkit, the mind, the heart, the hands. The recipe, compliments of Mr. Byron Garrett. If the mind can conceive it and the heart can believe it, then the hands can achieve it. Hear that again. If your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, then your hands can achieve it. Because our mind, our thoughts, our focus, where we conceptualize, create, desire, plan, whatever it is we want to chase, the very place where our inspiration must begin by feeding it excitement about things and mapping endless possibilities for our unique journey, where our internal dialogue must be positive so that we create a vision of opportunity rather than one of fault or fear. Control your mind, you control your outcomes. The heart, our why, our fire that fuels our progress, which by no coincidence beats faster both in fear and excitement. Here's where we find our motivation to keep it moving, pushing, grinding, building towards our unique journey, building our roadmap. And then finally, our hands, our action, our effort, our follow through, where we execute, accomplish, and achieve. We got to put in work. We got to stand on business. Got to put forth effort, even when it is not easy, because life ain't easy, but we can make it a little bit easier through our determination. If one internal ingredient is missing or somehow substituted with some non organic from the outside nonsense, the whole thing crashes and becomes watered down. Control, Alt, Delete. A clear mind without a heart, burn out, quit. A passionate heart with no plan, you just a hamster on a hamster wheel. Great plan with no execution, paperweight. If the mind is blinded or distracted from the possibilities, then our hearts can't or won't have faith in our abilities, and our hands can never seize or create the opportunities. So ask yourself, what am I feeding my mind? Am I protecting it? What drives my heart? And what is my why? What am I doing with my hands? If the answer is nothing or I don't know, time to stop lying to yourself. Start there. You've had the tools, you've just misappropriated them for easy, safe, herd mentality. So here's today's final field assignment. Each day, once, start slow. Write down or talk to yourself and ask, what is my mind focused on today? What is my heart's desire? How can I use my hands to create that reality? This is going to help you move with purpose. So I leave you with closing arguments. Look, I don't know what you're carrying. I don't know your story, your failures, or your traumas. But I do know this. None of those things are exclusively yours. Every single one of us has them. But you still here. You ain't quit. You didn't fold. You woke up today and God willing every day with a chance and a choice. You're listening. That means there's a fight and a fire within you. Life may have taken multiple rounds of the fight, even knocked you down. Hell, it might have mud stomped you into the ground. But you keep beating the standing 8 count. You continue because it didn't kill you. And that matters. That means you still get to choose. Choose to continue. Choose to speak actual living over yourself again. Choose to write the next chapter of your book, not in spite of your pain and failure, but because of it. You've got strength and power you just can't remember because it's been buried under the externally infiltrated shame, noise, trauma, doubt. But that's their story, not your story. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to wake up now. Because the truth is, we don't have time to procrastinate. Time is not infinite, and we damn sure can't save time. A lifetime ain't never as long as we tend to think it is, and risking it on timing is the biggest risk of all. Time is undefeated. Action and movement matter much more than readiness. If you think life is a bitch, pardon my tongue, regret is a motherfucker. So get to it. Now's the right moment. The moment you block the Jedi mind tricks, you disconnect from the matrix. The moment you convince yourself, enough, I will protect my mind with the same veracity and passion I would protect my home and my family. And if nobody's ever told you, hear me now and share this if you need to, or tell them to listen to the podcast. You are worth the effort. You are not a failure. Every day is a new chance for a new choice. Your can, your will, your story. Case closed. So, final piece of evidence, I want to leave you with one last quote from Kobe Bryant. You won't feel motivated every day, whether it's for work, training, or learning. Show up and give your best regardless. That's what true professionals do. The conditions will never be perfect, but real progress comes when you push forward despite the obstacles. Don't wait for the right moment for things to feel easy. Take action now. Discipline is what sets the great apart from the rest. This has been Internal Affairs of the Mind, where we break in, strip it down, and get real. So hopefully together we can build ourselves back up, armed with new wisdom. Peace and blessings to everyone. Be kind, be a good human. Thanks for listening. I'm Greg Thompson. We'll chop it up next time.